Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'm talking about episode 2 of The Prodigal Son on Fox. So I'd like to start off by saying thanks so much for those of you that watched my review of the first episode. You were all really respectful and gave some really good points. Obviously, it seems like I was in the minority on how I felt about the show, but I love the fact that we had like a real conversation. You guys brought up some of the things you loved about the show instead of just saying I'm stupid or something like that. So I really appreciate that. So in this episode, we are seeing Malcolm take on another case. This case is dealing with a family annihilator. This person just killed an entire family, and they're trying to figure out why he did it, what his motivations were. So obviously you have Malcolm's father, the surgeon played by Michael Sheen, wanting to inject himself into that investigation, get involved, and get back into his relationship with his son. And one of the things I really liked about this episode in particular were the flashbacks. You were seeing Malcolm dealing with the trauma of his childhood. It is coming to the forefront. It is bubbling just beneath the surface of his character, and that's something I find really compelling. I think the fact that he has these ghosts, these demons inside of him, makes his character that much more interesting and that much more compelling. And I thought Tom Payne's performance in the second episode was a little bit better than in the first one. I think that we have his character being fleshed out a little bit more. He's showing the things that are triggering him and setting him into these kind of ridiculous states of paranoia, and we really see that in the scene where he goes to the hospital, and he's so afraid of having drugs put into his body because of what his father did. And you see scenes where he chloroformed him as a child. He keeps having these flashbacks to a woman in a trunk. He has these fixations on these events from his childhood, and I think he portrays that really well. He's someone who puts on a face for people, and I like that part of his character. When he interviews or deals with people that don't know him personally, he tries to be a little more charming and tries to be a little more understanding, but then he has these moments of total breakdown. And yeah, I thought he does both ends of the spectrum really well. And speaking of both ends of the spectrum, I kind of like how we're setting up the relationship between his biological father, then you have Lou Diamond Phillips' character that kind of takes him under his wing after his father's sent to prison. I think we're seeing kind of the two sides of Malcolm in those two characters, and I think they both give really good performances. You have Lou Diamond Phillips, who is so warm and so caring, and he wants to keep him away from his father, kind of keep him away from dealing with the traumas of his life. And then you have his father trying to reel him in, getting him so involved in murder and just showing these tendencies to really think about himself first. Yeah, I really like that. I like how we're seeing the two sides of him, and you're seeing that reflected in the character of Malcolm. That kind of plays in almost to the whole nature above nurture aspect that people think about when you think about a serial killer or someone, anyone that's being raised. What really makes people who they are? Is it who they're around? Are they born that way? And I think the show's going to play with that idea. Is Malcolm able to repress these instincts that he may have inherited from his father, or is he going to be able to take on these new traits that are given to him by his, basically adopted father, trying to be a good guy, be a police officer, and put away people like his father? So it's kind of interesting how that's all going to play out. I also kind of find it entertaining the fact that Malcolm's character is basically a Sherlock Holmes type person. He goes into a situation, he's able to break it apart because of his experience speaking with his father and being around an experienced serial killer. I like that. I like how he sees the little things. He says, this is why this person's doing this. He profiles them. I find that part of the show very interesting. It's something I really love on a show like Mindhunter, one of my favorite shows, and seeing that done here on a pretty comparable level, I like it. The only aspect that I don't absolutely love about the show, which was the same issue I had with the first episode, is it gets a little ridiculous at times. That's not really my taste. I like a little more grounded, a little more gritty show, but there's moments in the show that get kind of over the top for me. Especially there's a scene dealing with an exotic animal dealer, and he throws a snake at him, and it's just stuff with that just seems a little silly to me. Maybe that's just me. It's just a taste thing, I think. So I like that, they're trying to take some risks, make some interesting storylines. I mean, what's more interesting than chasing down a black market animal dealer with a leopard and a snake and like all these other animals inside this warehouse? So I like that they try it. It's just not necessarily my favorite thing. That is another part of the show that kind of exemplifies Malcolm's character, makes him a little more interesting, is that he gets put into these absolutely ridiculous situations, like that with the snake at the murder scene when he has to kind of tell her to remain calm and he understands a lot about snakes. You don't have a character make an offhand remark like, of course you had snakes growing up, you're so strange. So I think that adds an extra element to him. He's able to keep calm and analyze situations, but then at the end of the day, he can totally spiral into madness at any given moment. There's also another really good scene in this episode where you're seeing Malcolm trying to get past his father's reputation. That is obviously going to be a major theme in this show, him trying to get past what people believe he is because of his father's actions. When he's sitting there and speaking with that other detective, and he's saying, this is who I am, this is what my father did, I'm not a psychopath, he is a psychopath. I like that he's going to keep fighting that. And then the character comes back to him and makes kind of a more lighthearted remark, because maybe people don't understand who he is, and it's something he's been dealing with his entire life, and it kind of defines who he is. I don't know, I like those messages, and I like where we're going to go dealing with those same things throughout the rest of the season. Obviously, the main part of the show that draws everyone in, that I was originally drawn in by, is the relationship between Malcolm and his father, the surgeon. I thought we had some really good encounters. I like how his father is just relentless. He calls him and leaves a voicemail after voicemail after voicemail. He's obviously someone who doesn't give up on things. He has the unlimited amount of time to do what he does, and he just wants to seemingly have a relationship with his son, but there's obviously something beneath the surface that he loves murder. He loves the act of murder, and I think he wants to corrupt his son to be like him and to understand what murder is. He never really fully apologizes for the things he does in the past. You have that when he's speaking about the girl in the basement. He never really just says, I'm a horrible monster of a person. He kind of wants to keep that air of maybe he is not such a terrible person. I like that. I like the performance. It's a very subdued performance by Michael Sheen, but when he actually lets loose and freaks out, he works really well too. So I like that there is a layer there between basically he's calm, collective, or a crazy person. And I'm going to be interested to see how they do that throughout the rest of the series. End of the episode, we have a twist dealing with the mother. Who knows? Maybe this relationship between the mother and her children isn't what we think it is. Maybe she knows a little bit more about what the surgeon did. Maybe she was involved somehow. I'm interested in how that's going to play out. I think the family aspect is something that is really understated on the show. The fact that the daughter deals in reporting and murder is kind of, business. It's something that gets headlines, something she gets almost excited about in a scene, that there's a quadruple homicide. Malcolm, obviously as a detective, gets excited trying to chase these cases. I think that's going to be really something that they can latch onto, the show writers, and kind of play with that idea of what murder means to different people when it's not just this horrible event, but it's, a living, it's a lifestyle. It's so strange. This show has such an air of creepiness around it while still being a procedural show at the end of the day. So I like that blend, and I am interested to see how it goes going forward. So those are my thoughts on episode 2. I liked episode 2 more than episode 1. I'm still interested to see where it's going. I'm a little more invested in these characters. I'm starting to see the storylines. I'm starting to see the relationships that will make this show something that will be very entertaining. It'll be very original. The first episode kind of struck me as a procedural show with a little bit of a twist to it. I think we're going to get our own interesting character arcs and relationships that'll keep me coming back episode after episode. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and let me know how you feel about it. Do you like it? Do you continuing to like these series? We had a lot of positive responses on the first episode, so I want to see you guys still picking up with it. You still really enjoying it? And again, thanks so much for the positive feedback. I love having this as a conversation. I want to be talking with you, not at you about these shows. So again, thank you, and see you guys next time.